This is Dr. Cavil. With BCSN Game Time, we have the Director of Athletics, the Vice President of Athletics at the Jackson State University, Ashley Robinson. I had a chance to work with him directly over the many years and stuff like that, but the data spoke. And so let me say congratulations live in terms of being ranked on Dr. Viz Inside the HBCU Sports Show, and you came on and talked to us as major division HBCU Athletic Director of the Year. I know you've gotten other awards, but want to recognize that from you. But let's speak about that. The reason that you were able to attain that award, at least based on the points, right, in terms of your peers, is the work that you're doing at Jackson State University. And a lot of that is the forefront in leading things. The first person I heard when it came out there in terms of NIL preparing for this new world is introducing to your fan base a increase in the ticket price where part of that money was going to go directly to your athletes as well as the band.
Right.
Talk a little bit about why that was important and how that came to fruition.
I mean that was very important. Now, you look at the landscape of athletics, and we started talking about this stuff 1 or 2 years ago. You saw other institutions what they was doing, and you got to have some strategic planning in place, to be successful when they're talking about supporting your student athletes. All our institutions opt in, so it's an opportunity for us to support, but we have to do our job as administrators. So that starts with me, and I tell people a lot, all the time. It starts with us. I have a really, really good staff. I have a good support system at Jackson State, and all the awards and all the accolades we've had is because of all the people around me. It's not about Ashley Robinson. It's about Jackson State as a whole. It's about our coaches. It's about our student athletes. It's about our staff. It's about our president. It's about our alumni. It's about our supporters. It's about the community. It's about, everybody coming together as one to support Jackson State. And that's why we are successful. So those awards and everything that, I've received is because of the people that I have around me. I have good staff. I have good people. Great coaches, and it's my job to give them what they need to be successful. So that's one of the things that we did from an NIL standpoint is we added a convenient fee to our season tickets and also a convenient fee to our single tickets as well. And we use that to support, NIL and not only just, the athletics, but also the band. The band's a big part of Jackson State. It's a big part of what we do. If you know any tradition of Jackson State University, when you bring those two together, you're talking about very, very successful. So we wanted to continue to build on the tradition of Jackson State, but we wanted to blaze new trails. So that's one of the things that we put in place, and that we're very excited about it. It's going well. I was going really, really well. Our alumni supported that initiative very, very well. So we're very excited about that, and we continue to put things in place and do some strategic planning in this athletics world now. So we got to make sure we put some things in place to support our students.
Yeah, you even leaned on me for NIL opportunity that we were able to make work in terms of the HBCU Las Vegas Classic. We'll talk a little bit more about it, and we'll let you see that when it hits the stage. But yeah, he leans on everybody.
That's right.
I will mess with him a little bit here. I know you take care of your staff and your people, and you shout them out, and you take care of them in terms of making sure that they feeling good. But I told him there was a little something that came with the AD award this year, and that your people might come back and ask you where's their dinner or whatever. So if they ask him for a second one, because I know you already did one, that's why it's coming up. You're like, what is this talking about?
Right.
Well, just wanted to jab you a little bit about that. But let me go to Brian.
AD Robinson, you have I feel like you're really out front setting the standard to speak in terms of how
standard is a good word now because we are the standard.
We are the standard. I know I'm going to get in trouble. It's going to be a soundbite somewhere along the line. But no, in terms of I see so many schools comparing what is happening at Jackson State. And I'm most interested in how you, from an administrator, work with your university and maybe taking us behind the scenes on what that looks like, because you're accomplishing so much. And I know a lot through just working with Dr. Cavil that none of that happens without university support.
That's right.
So if you could talk and maybe share what you can about the relationship that you have with your university and how all that works to making Jackson State the eyes of so many people within not only the FCS, but just among the HBCU and SWAC.
Right, and that's a great question. I think when you start talking about the things we're doing at Jackson State, I tell people this all the time. If you treat the tradition of Jackson State been doing this a long time. You know, we had some years that, 4 or 5 years during that time. I think the 2013 to 2018, where we had some years that we was down. I was charged to come back in 2018 to build the tradition of the program. And my theme was building on tradition and blazing new trails. And you're talking about the support. You talk about, anytime you're talking about Jackson State, if you're not talking about athletics, regardless of who you are, everybody understands that. They understand the tradition of Jackson State. They understand the history of Jackson State. They understand when you talk about football, that's Jackson State University. So you're talking about, bringing people together and communicate. And I believe in communicating. I live and breathe off my 5 C's. And, number one is change. We don't like change, but we have to make sure that we meet with our constituents, meet with campus leaders. Because I tell my campus, we can't be successful without every area, whether it's housing, whether it's financial aid, whatever that piece is, everybody has to come together as one to make sure we're successful. Community service. We have to get out in the community. We have to make sure, that the community understands what Jackson State is about. We have to be visual and customer service. None of us like to have customer service, but you can't do anything without customer service. You got to have customer service. And then when you do all 3 of those, that brings the Commissioner Cup and that brings championships. But you have to do those 3. Those 3 are very, very important. And people don't understand those P. And customer service, regardless of what you're doing, you got to have good customer service. Sometimes it only takes one time.
Yes, sir.
It only takes one time, one impression. So you got to make sure you're on point. I tell my staff and I tell people all the time, Jackson State is so big in Mississippi. And if you don't feel like being bothered, stay at home. Don't go to the store. If you work at Jackson State, you're going to get a conversation. People are going to talk. When you go to Walmart, when you go anywhere you go, you got to be prepared to talk about it. And it could be that one time that you're not prepared. And it's like, hey, man, athletics was rude. The head coach was rude. The AD was rude. So I'm always, always thinking about that. You got to be one up when it comes to things like that, because you got to always be prepared. And that's one of the biggest pieces that, we work at Jackson State is we got to communicate together. And we don't have to get along. I tell people every day, there's a lot of things that, hey, I think this way. I'm looking at results. What can we do to bring this thing together? What can we do from a financial aid standpoint? What can we do from a housing standpoint? What can we do from an academic standpoint? What can we do? Let's bring everybody in the room, because you cannot be successful without your campus leaders. And and we do a really good job at Jackson State working together, and we have to communicate. And with all these tough times and changes with the NCAA, the opting in, the NILs, we have to educate. We have to educate. And that's what a lot of ADs don't understand is you have to get in there. You have to educate your people. You got to let them know what it is. And if we're not serious about what we're doing, this is what's going to happen.
Yes, sir.
And if we're serious about what we're doing, you're going to see the results on the field. And we got to keep pushing that. And those are some of the things that's just like coaches. I tell my coaches all day, if you're not in my door, if you're not asking for something, I'm worried about you, because I know on our level, we don't have everything what we need to be successful. So if you're not continue to say, hey, see, so these are some of the things I want to do moving forward. This is the vision I have for the program. I tell my coaches, when you're quiet, I'm worried about you. I'm very worried about you. And I like aggressive coaches. I like coaches that's going to go in and work and do what they need to do. And we and it's going to be some tough times. I tell people that what you do during those tough times. What are we going to do? Are we going to work together as one? Are we going to sit in the room where you can say what I tell my coach? You can say whatever you want to say to me, but when we leave the door, we're going to be on the same page. And that's what it's about. It's not about Ashley Robinson. It's not about walking around with a shirt and tie. It's about these coaches and these student athletes and giving them what they need to be successful. You want to be successful in athletics. If you're not a servant, you're in the wrong profession.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you.
AD?
Dr. Robinson.
Yes, sir.
Number one, I always kid you because I can, because if you weren't successful at what you were doing, I wouldn't be kidding you, because nobody would even catch half the jokes that we be shooting back and forth at each other.
Right.
But you've been successful. Successful program, successful off the field, and some of the things you do.
And multiple institutions too.
Yes, multiple institutions. But even with that success, there's still opportunities for growth.
That's right.
So going off of Dr. Cavil giving you the ranking, the top ranking, still, what are some of the things that you still look to improve on so that you can maintain that title and the envious position of other people in the SWAC, so that you can remain out front? What are some of the areas that you look to improve on this upcoming year?
That's 2-time winner, 2 out of the last 3 years.
That's right. So we got to improve on the infrastructure. We got to do some things infrastructure wise to make sure that our facilities are upgraded. We got to do some things when it comes to NIL. When it comes to supporting our programs and making sure we're giving our coaches, that latitude to do what they need to do. We got to improve on meeting those benchmarks when it comes to opting in. Those are huge benchmarks when you come to different sports and what you can and can't do and those things. So those are three areas that you talking about infrastructure. We got to get that. I'm a big structured organization guy. We got to come up with a strategic plan, and we've had some things in place. Right now, we have the 40 by 40 campaign. We have the Building Champion Fund that's out there. So we're doing some things differently. One of the things different I wanted to do is, for Labor Day weekend, we're always at some classic. So we've created a classic on campus this year, and we'll be home against Hampton. We're doing something different. Hope Credit Union Labor Day Classic, and when I say Hope Credit Union Labor Day Classic at Jackson State, you know what that means, right? That means we're going out in the community and we're creating revenue and building a community to do some things and naming those classics and bringing things home, so we can do more things to support our student athlete. So I'm tasked with, my biggest piece is, I gotta go find the revenue. I got to go find the sponsorships. I got to go build more relationships in the community, more relationships in the state of Mississippi, more relationships in the nation, in the United States, to support Jackson State athletics and tell people what we're about. And that's the biggest task. And I think, once you create that revenue and you come in and do what you need to do, everything else falls in place. You've got the right coach in place, and no doubt, I feel like we have all our head coaches. I'm very, happy and successful with them. So I got to do my job now, and that's the biggest pieces. I got to go out and create more opportunities for NIL and more revenue-based opportunities, so we can support our coaches and student athletes.
Well, you got 11 institutions trying to chase your heels down. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah. Last question, Mike.
Yeah, Ashley, good to see you. Sitting next to you.
Obviously, you look good in that.
Obviously, I'm wearing blue, but not by design.
I got you.
I was in the transfer portal a few years ago. That little thing that happened with Prairie View A&M, but I'm back out now. So like Dr. Cavil. So
well, I know they give you $10. I got 12.
You got 20. I'm 20.
I can give you a $2 raise.
I appreciate it. Doc don't give me nothing. So but grief. But anyway, we talked about your award, but you talked earlier about your stakeholders. You talked about the faculty. You talked about the administration. You talked about the players. As you go into 2025, tell us, some of the ways you're going to really engage those other stakeholders, and that's the fans, the alumni. Tremendous job up to this point. Probably one of the most engaged alumni and fan base that you have. Right. Can you tell us what are some successes? What are some of the next steps to make sure that they stay engaged as well?
Right. Well, I think one of the biggest pieces is one of the things that alumni asked me to do is bring more classics to Jackson. And that's what we're doing. We just signed a 3-year deal. I don't know, with Tuskegee. Tuskegee would be a classic every year. We use that at WC Gordon Classic. They would be on campus, and I think that's a great matchup. And also, we would start doing some things for Labor Day weekend each year. And that's one of the initiatives that we want to do to keep revenue base here. Our fans travel, and I tell them all the time, I'm not really concerned about, the other games except the 5 home games. I need 50,000 out of all 5 home games. We travel. Now we're gonna travel. We're gonna be there and do a lot of things. But we've done a lot of traveling the last 5 or 6 years. So I wanted to make sure that we bring some games home, bring some classics home, create some revenue there, be able to sell some sponsorship, create some inventory. I tell people you can't have sponsorships and do things without the inventory. So we're creating some inventory and creating some space and creating some naming rights and creating some classic names and things of that nature, so we can bring that revenue in. And we're doing that. That's one of the newest things that we're doing, that we're working on. One of the things we talked about this earlier, we have the 40 by 40 campaign. I tell people, if you just sit down and think about the 40 by 40 and people at JSU by 40, you're asking 50,000 alums to get $40 a month. Now, if you do the math, if you do that consistently in a 12-month base, you can support your athletic program and do it on a day-to-day basis and do what you need to do. And then on the Building Champion Fund to support our facilities, we ask $50,000 to give $10 a month. And that's a 12-month campaign that we're working on. And the biggest piece is it's a training process, but it's also an educational process, and teaching your alums on how to give. Sometimes it's not about how much you give; it's about the volume of people that give. So if you get 50,000 people to give every single month to athletics, you think about some of the things that they will give, and not just I tell people I'm not just advocating for athletics. If you 50,000, just give to Jackson State University. Give to the college you graduated from. I mean, give to the institution. If you think about if all 50,000 come together and give, Jackson State has no problem. So that piece is educating them, and our people like to see, and when I got here, I said, hey, you got championships now. You're seeing some of the things we're doing in facilities. So now I gotta lean on you to make sure that and put some pressure on you. Say, hey, I need your support. And there's no time other than now that we need support, for our alumni and our fan base and the community with all the different things that's going on and the landscape of athletics. So we gotta have that support now. So just creating that environment, creating some things to show them what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. We are show fans. We got to see something. We got to win something. We got to show people. So I think we've done a really, really good job of winning championships. And now we're working on taking this thing to the next level and showing people that it can be done. And my biggest deal, and I say this everywhere I go, I want to show people it can be done at HBCU. That's the part that I'm tired of people saying what we can't do. We come together as one. We can do a lot of things, and we can support a lot of things.
Right.
So that's one of my biggest goals, and that's why I'm here. I'm here because I want to be here. I've had opportunities every single year, but I love Jackson State. I love my community. I love my alumni. I love my supporters. I love my coaches, and I love sitting here saying people telling me what it can't be done. Ain't no way you're gonna get that done at Jackson State. Ain't no way you're gonna get that done at a Prairie View. There's no way you're gonna get that done at a Valley. And all that we can show that those things can happen. And we've done that. So we just got to make sure that sustainability piece and being being sustainable and keeping this thing together. And that's the biggest initiative that I'm working on this year.
Yep. They spoke, you listen, and put it into fruition. Awesome.
Right. With that, we'll close out here and get prepared to take this next break. But before we do that, you talked about the W.C. Gordon Classic against Tuskegee.
Right.
This year, you were able to come down to Texas Southern University and visit with our students.
Right.
The VP of Athletics, and I appreciate that. But now we're taking the HBCU lecture series on the road symposium.
Right.
And our first stop is going to be at Jackson State
for
that W.C. Gordon on that Friday. So people were announcing it here. Look for that coming. We'll have at least 4 of them this year throughout the fall football season going to different campuses. But our first stop is going to be that Friday in Jackson, Mississippi at Jackson State University under the guidance of Ashley Robinson putting together. So look for more information so you can be a part of it. We're excited to have you, and thank you for everything you're doing. That is Ashley Robinson, Vice President of Intercollegiate Athletics at Jackson State University, the Jackson State University, as they like to say around that part. And we're BCS Game Time. We'll be right back after this next